KFIZ News Time. It is 8:10, and welcome to Landscape Smart, presented by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company. I am Matt Hinker, and joining me today is Ron Rademann and Master Gardener Carol. Phone lines are open for any and all of your landscaping and gardening questions, so give us a call at 923-1450 or 1-888-900-1450. Can't give us a call? Shoot us an email at kfizstudio@gmail.com. Ron, Carol, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning.
This fairly nice morning here. We finally see the sun today, something we haven't really seen much of all week for the most part.
Yeah, it's been a swampy week.
Yeah, to say the least. Swampy is a good word to use to describe it, Ron.
Puddles in every farm field as I was driving around here this morning. So yeah, it's it's going to be one of those, and we got a little more coming. It sounds like
that's what it looks like. Yeah.
Tomorrow we'll see how right or how wrong everybody is, but
and the wind word is in there all the time.
Yes.
So I'm going to mention, I just went out to the kids' garden this morning because we put the tomatoes in on Thursday. And I wish I had gone out there on Friday and done this, but they need to be staked up. Even if they're in the ground, they need a stake behind them. The best thing to tie them with is take a strip from an old T-shirt you never want to wear again, half-inch wide maybe, and just tie them up. Not go around the stake and then go around the plant and just pull it up, because otherwise, especially for people that are doing them in buckets and whatever, that wind will just take that tomato down.
I was saying,
in no time.
It'll knock them over, right?
Right. Even the ones that say they don't need to be staked, they really do because of the wind, especially if you're higher off the ground with them.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing to do today.
There you go.
Before the wind tomorrow.
Before the wind and rain comes in and doesn't let you get it done.
Right.
Yeah.
When you're staking like that, always use loops too. Whether you're doing trees or tomatoes or anything, don't tie it tight around the stems, because that'll choke it off and it won't allow for new growth. So
you go around the stake and make a knot there, and then you go around the plant and make a knot to the outside, so that's a whole separate loop from the stake loop.
Gotcha.
Right. Otherwise, it'll just flip back and forth between there. Yes.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because you kind of want it. I'm sure you want it to be able to sway a little bit, but not.
Yes, it's to sway.
Yeah,
but yeah, inches.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, it's just to guide it and to help it. You don't want it to be totally dependent on it.
Right.
So.
Mostly just to prevent it from, I would imagine, falling over or being blown entirely over from the wind.
Right.
Is the
and
idea.
Then as it grows another 6 inches, you do another loop.
Is there anything else you'd recommend you do that for besides tomatoes?
There aren't a lot of other plants that really need it as much, that are as big and heavy as a tomato plant is, especially when it starts getting tomatoes on it, yes. Some people stake their peppers, but I never have, and I don't have any problem. They're not nearly as high, and usually.
No, yeah.
But if you're going to put them in a pot and the pot is up high, then you might think about putting something around them.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. Okay.
Well, I didn't mow on Monday. I wanted to, and now I feel like I'm paying for it because I haven't been able to the rest of the week, right? Because of the weather, and now it's like knee high. It's just unbelievable.
I believe you're going to have to rake.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, this is growing weather, and it
is.
And the combination of the heat, the humidity, and the moisture that we've had here this spring, and we everything got off to an early start already. So we've had a lot of new growth, not just on grass, but everything.
Yeah.
And with that thought in mind, you could also, if you have, we're kind of typically caught like right now in between with step 1 and step 2 for lawn fertilizing, but you could kind of bounce back either way at this point in time, because if you still have weeds in your yard and we're getting enough moisture like this, you could put step 2 down once again, or if you didn't get a chance, you could still do it. And on the other hand, you could move into step 3 anytime too. And right now it doesn't. But the last thing you really want to think about doing is fertilizing your lawn when you're already struggling with keeping up with the mowing. But when you fertilize, you're doing it really for 2 and 3 and 4 weeks down the
Right.
road. It doesn't just take right off that next day when you fertilize it. So you're helping it develop a good, strong root system and good plant health more for the summer months when we're gonna get the hot, dry weather at some point in time.
I was just
we
gonna
know
say
it's coming, so we got to be prepared for that too. So.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'd imagine, well, fortunate or unfortunate, I guess a matter of perspective, but yeah, the rain isn't going to be like this all the time. We're going to definitely hit spots of warm, dry weather here coming, where we're going to go a week plus without any rain.
Well, we've had the warm weather.
We have, that's true.
It's just that we've
also had the rain.
Fortunately, had plenty of rain. At least right in this area we have.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, these scattered thunderstorms, some areas have gotten more precipitation than others, but I think over the last 10 days or so, pretty much all of Wisconsin got it. So.
Yeah,
So
I think,
one time or another.
yeah, at least at some point in time,
Yes.
they seem to got at least partial of any of those storms, especially on what was it? It was Tuesday where things got real ugly. Like the sirens are going off, the whole shebang and everything. So I even took the wife and the cats down to the basement. I was like, all right, let's. I heard the sirens. I was looking at the radar. I'm like, so we went down there, sat down there for about 15, 20 minutes or so. And I'm like,
I agree. I did as well, partially because I knew I had all sorts of pots and things down there I could wash up and do while I was down there.
There was stuff to do.
It's a basement, but we lived there 22 years, and I do not think I went down there before because of a storm.
Oh, really?
But it sounded really bad.
It did, yeah. And
Well,
then
a lot of crabby kids the next morning because they were up way late, too, the night before because it was later when the warning came. Yes.
that's true,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, there were cells that were coming across from the west and also coming up from the south. And that's when the weather people National Weather Service gets a little nervous because those two cells were coming together right over Fond du Lac County.
Yep.
And, as it turns out, it was a little bit of a false alarm. But when you see those, if you see that in the sky and they're showing that off radar nowadays, you can, those are the ones where the storms do. Typically, when they come together like that, that's where you have the problem.
Right. And when those cells merge like that, it can be very dangerous.
So it was, one of those that, when initially you thought, well, it really isn't, even though they had tornado watches out, I didn't really think it was going to amount to much until that second one formed and came up from the south. And then you took it a little, you took those sirens seriously.
That's exactly what happened to me because I was looking at it. I was looking at the radar specifically, and I'm like, well, this looks like it's going to be a pretty nasty thunderstorm, but nothing that's going to cause me, the hairs to raise up on the back of my neck or anything. But then kept a closer eye on it, and then the siren started going off, and I'm like, this is developing in a way that I didn't anticipate. So yeah, let's go downstairs, hon. Grab the cats and a few blankets. We'll head to the basement. Like you said, I had to move some laundry over anyway, so I had some things to do in the basement. It was fine.
Oh, there's always something to do there.
There's always something that needs doing. So.
For sure.
Speaking of which, what is something, because I know I always ask this, but what is something maybe we recommend people maybe do get out and get done today? You already mentioned staking tomato plants or anything else. Is there anything else? Because they kind of have a window, what looks like a window today, maybe sometime tomorrow, but then looks like the next few days it's going to be it's going to be more rain and storms again and possible wind. So is there anything else you'd recommend people get outside, take advantage of this nice day to get done?
Well, I would think there's a lot of planting that hasn't been done yet, but I don't know if we get storms here that are going to beat down. Sometimes you can lose your seed with carrots where you thought you had beets, if it rains hard enough to kind of flood it. I didn't have that happen yet this year, but I'm sure there's a lot of seeding going on. It's actually early for gardening this year yet. There's a lot of times that no one plants a garden until Memorial Day, but we've had a lot of warmer springs, and so that happens. Yes. My pepper plants, I am not putting in for at least another week or so. I have very bad luck unless I wait until the soil is really nice and warm for them to get going. Otherwise, they just sit there. I have little peppers, I have little plants, so I'm going to hold off on them. They
Just
can
modestly
stay on the
wait?
porch a little longer. That'll be all right. Yes.
So what I'm hearing is the peppers they like a warmer soil
They
temperature.
like it very warm. Tomatoes do too, basically, but tomatoes seem to be a tougher plant than peppers are. Yes.
Gotcha.
They're getting so many exotic kind of blends of peppers too that I think they're more frail than they used to be. I'm not sure. So I do some of the, the heavy duty peppers that we've had before. Yes.
Excellent. All right. I tell you what, we will take our first break. You're listening to Landscape Smart, presented by Landscape Company. Rademann Stone and Landscape Company. Excuse me. Get that all the way out. I assume they're open today as well, Ron.
Yeah, Rademann's is open today. Open on Saturdays till noon. So stop on out and give Joe, or I don't know if Brock's around today. We'll find out. Probably not. Joe is there for sure.
Welcome back to Landscape Smart, presented by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company. I am Matt Anker, and joining me today is Ron Rademann and Master Gardener Carol. Phone lines are open for your questions, 923-1450 or 1-888-900-1450. Can't shoot us a phone call? Now you can go ahead and shoot us an email at kfizstudio@gmail.com. And we're actually going to turn to the phone lines immediately right now. You're on Landscape Smart. What's your name?
Good morning. I'm Kathy. I want to thank you for doing the show. It is always so enlightening. But my question is it still safe to move a hosta?
I would certainly think so. I don't know if there's any way to kill a hosta. What do you think, Ron? Do you have a lot of them?
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. It's really not, it's probably the worst time of the year to be transplanting plants. Right during the active growth period is the worst time, but a hosta pretty much you could do at any point in time. I would, go ahead and move it, and then actually, as strange as it sounds, I'd cut most of the leaves off and just leave a few smaller center leaves there, and because otherwise it'll kind of dry up and burn out anyway. So yeah, go ahead and move it, but take most of the stress off of it and trim off most of the leaves. Just leave the center smaller ones, but it's still plenty early enough in the season. And I wouldn't do it with too many other things other than hosta. but hosta, you can.
Yeah, they're pretty hardy.
You can bend the rules and break the rules on hostas.
There are no rules.
And you can split it apart too, I would think, at this time of the year if you don't want to make
Yeah,
three plants out of the one you have, depending on how large it is.
Yeah,
Maybe you're
I mean,
lucky enough to have a
ideally it
small
would have
one.
been better to do it, 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 weeks ago at this year. But you could still do it now, but you're going to lose a little bit of the.
Yeah.
It would have recovered if you would have did it, 2 or 3 weeks ago. It'd be fully recovered by now. Where now it's going to take more into July to recover. That's the only difference. Mm-hmm.
And I think it was about 4 weeks ago is when the wife and I, we moved the chicks and hens, and that's proven to be they're all thriving right now. So
Good.
yeah. So I think that proved to be a good time to do it. I was like, let's just, they weren't working where they were. So I'm like, let's just move them. Let's move them. And I think that has proven to be the good decision.
They didn't complain at all?
Nope. They seem to be happy with their new homes.
Good.
I'll maybe clarify that one more time though a little bit too. We're talking, in this case, you're going to dig it up and transplant it and move it, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's because if it was already dug up, you could, or in a pot, you could plant right now. It's just the digging out of it that's the stressful part.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think you could get away with it on a hosta anyway. But so.
All right. Thank you.
Well,
All right,
Thank you for the
thanks.
call.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Today's the day.
Yeah, it is. It's a good day to do it now because the weather will be getting in your way here soon. So, yeah, I'd imagine when it comes to hosta, I feel like a lot of those rules kinda are more guidelines because they just seem to just whatever.
They are pretty much a whatever plant. We built an office onto our home, and I dug out the hostas in the fall and just set the chunks up on the grass.
Mm-hmm.
And then in spring, when the project was done, I just put them back in the ground, and they all survived. Every single one of
They
them.
were
I
just like,
thought if
okay.
I was lucky enough to have 3 of the 15 live,
Right.
they were all good.
All 15.
It was amazing. But I had big chunks of dirt, but still, it worked.
No,
They are
that's
very
still
tough.
That's impressive.
Yes, it It is.
I was going to talk a little bit more one more time. After we talked about the raised garden beds last week, I had a handful of people call me during the week
I bet.
with questions on it. And so I was just going to kind of go over it one more time, quickly here. And the advantage, that was kind of one of the, why should we do them out of like unilock or paver blocks? And it's just rather than wood. And, I like the idea of the paver blocks just because it's easier to do it yourself. You're not involving saws. You can just piece them together, and you can use pretty much any configuration. You could do them L-shaped or straights or squares or a series of squares, rectangles. You can't really, you could even do circles, I guess, too. There's different patterns, different styles that are conducive even to doing circles. So, it'd be pretty difficult to do a circular one if you're using 2x8s and 2x10s. So those are, just some of the things, and it works best if you go about 5 blocks high. The blocks are 4 inches in height. So if you go 5 blocks high, you bury the bottom couple inches, and then you end up about 18 inches up. And, like I said, you can kind of do bigger circles, smaller circles, and all that part doesn't really matter. And then if you use like Typar landscape fabric inside, and a little clear stone in the bottom is helpful too, just gives you some drainage. Then, so build your planter, put the clear stone in, then go ahead and put the Typar landscape fabric over the top, then fill it up with garden mix planting soil. And there's a couple different ways. If you want to avoid the weeds, buy the bagged potting mix. If you're doing larger areas, then bulk shredded dirt or garden mix works fine too. But you're going to get some weeds in there.
Yeah.
So whereas the bagged stuff, that's sterilized. But the other thing, the bag stuff it's going to break down a little bit more. You're going to probably have to add some every year, which doesn't really hurt either. You're adding a bag here and there.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that was just kind of a couple of things that people were still asking about this week.
They could go higher than that if they needed to. If you had,
Well,
right? Other than the cost of the material and more dirt and all of that, if people have some kind of handicap and want to be gardening at a higher level,
sure,
they could do a bed higher than that.
Yeah,
yes.
And that's the one good thing about doing it. You just, if you don't like one like that, or it doesn't work well one year, well, add another 4 inches over the top or 2 more 4-inch layers, and you can kind of do it as you go. Try it, maybe try it at 18 inches, and as you get older, you can.
You don't want to bend over.
The back doesn't want to bend
over quite so far. Then you just go add a few more layers onto the top. Sure, and it's real easy to do at that point in time. You can add on real easily. So, there's no definitive stopping and starting point there. So
because we have the timbers on each side, the boards, and just like Mother Nature, we have weeds coming between those 2 boards. They come out the side, and I think, how does that happen? How does it get there? Yes, but we have that. And so that's going to deteriorate the boards faster, too, I think, if they get that little gap where a weed's coming out. So we try to take care of that, but it's one of the things that's not so great about the boards, the wood on the side.
Right, yeah.
It's got a shorter lifespan, too, than your pavers, for sure.
Yeah, these paver blocks, they're going to be around, a
long time.
Probably long after anyone who builds it.
Yeah. Be passing it on to somebody else.
Right.
If they get sick of gardening, it'll be full of flowers, zinnias or something.
Sure,
probably.
you can always do that.
It's good.
Yeah, make a nice little flower bed with them, I'm sure, as well, if you wanted to.
So, yeah, and, and the other, the other thing that we did, I didn't really get questions on it, but there's a lot of different fire pits, in different styles there that you could, again, and you could do it the same way if you want it higher or lower or necessarily. And they're typically, about 3 layers is best because typically want your fire more at ground level, or
Ideally, yeah.
so usually there, if you're just going 3 layers high, that works fine. Works fine. And you can get liners, you can get grills to put over the top of them, or you just you could, depending, you could put like a patio stone for a base and just build it right off the bottom too. You don't really, or gravel. You just have to clean out your spent ashes afterwards and let it go from there. So,
well, it sounds like the system is really versatile, right? I mean, it sounds like that's what I'm getting out of it, is that there's a lot of things you can do with it, and a lot of configurations you can make with it.
Yeah, and we've kind of found like Unilock is the most versatile and seems to be the best. So you can go right online to unilock.com and there's, it's a very interactive website. You can check out, and a lot of different colors too.
Yeah.
There's grays and like maroons, purples, sandstone, kind of any one of the color combinations, and everything else in between too. So you can kind of match that up to your backyard. So
make it nice and personalized for what you've got going on. Yeah, they look real good. All right, I tell you what, we will take our second break right now. Do not go anywhere, as you are listening to Landscape Smart, presented by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company.
So Rademann's is open today, Monday through Friday till 4:30, Saturday mornings until noon. Just 3 miles south of Fond du Lac, you can take Highway 41 or Highway 175 south of Fond du Lac, north out of Lemira, and then we're just east of Highway 41 by a quarter mile.
Welcome back to Landscape Smart, presented by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company. I'm Matt Hinker, and joining me today is Ron Rademann and Master Gardener Carol. Phone lines are open for any and all of your landscaping and gardening questions. Give us a call at 923-1450 or 1-888-900-1450. Can't give us a call? Shoot us an email at kfizstudio@gmail.com. So, what's the diagnosis, Carol?
You might be looking at the wrong person. I am not a real rose person, and I can't see on there what's happening. Do you have holes in the leaves?
Looks like there was one little one, but it's mostly like these, what looks like these, I don't want to say dry. I don't know if it was like a mildew or a mold.
Yeah,
these little specks.
It looks more like a
mildew.
Like a mildew or a fungus. But, on roses, any of those like triple action pretty much work the best, because you're always going to have, mites, you're going to have fungus, and it every year, if it's dry, you have mites and insect problems. If it's wet, you have fungus problems. It's just all those plants in roses and in the rose family that are susceptible.
So is it a spray?
Yeah, yes, you'd want to use it's a fungicide and a insecticide together. And we have a couple of different ones. You can, some are available just like in a spray bottle you can get, or if you have more problems than one rose, then, buy the product that it's got the hose end sprayer on it. Yep. Because those are you can just hook it up to the hose, spray it, put it right back on the shelf in the garage.
With all this rain, we probably are going to have a lot of those kind of questions.
Yeah,
if we have another rainy week here, because that's what makes it. Is it in the sunshine?
Yes.
Yes. It's not like
no.
Shady
it is
at
that one that gets a ton of sun. Yeah.
Okay, that's not the problem then.
The other thing you can kind of use on, a lot of the fruit tree sprays, you don't need to have 10 different products on the shelf in your garage. A lot of them can be used both ways.
Right.
You could use a fruit tree spray because, again, you're spraying apples and with a fungicide and an insecticide. So go ahead and use your fruit tree spray. If you look at most of the labels on fruit tree sprays and most of the labels on rose care sprays, they look the same. There might be 0.001%
real marginal.
Yeah, there's so little difference. So, like out at Rademann's, we deal more with trees and fruit trees and more things like that. So we have more products geared towards that than we do actually
like a rose bush
for roses. So a lot of those same products work just as well. And so as I'm setting them up at Rademann's, I pick out the ones that are best that you can use in multiple ways, not just the ones that
they're versatile,
that are more versatile. Yeah.
All right, I'll tell you what, we'll turn to the phone lines because we have some callers. You're on Landscape Smart. You have a question? Go ahead.
Hi, I have a chokeberry bush, and it looks to me like the birds transplanted a honeysuckle bush into that area. Right now it's really pretty, but I don't know, is that honeysuckle going to be too aggressive? Is it going to take over my chokeberry?
Probably yes. Because what happens, of course, is the same birds that like the berries on chokeberries like the berries on honeysuckle. So they eat one and go sit in the other and eat some more, and then they drop seeds, out the other end and plant some more. So it's a rather common problem. But yes, the honeysuckles are more aggressive. So I would snip off the honeysuckle, cut it off at ground level, get it out of there because it'll overtake the chokeberry. And for the most part, chokeberries are more desirable than honeysuckle. Honeysuckles typically can be a little more prone to fungus diseases. Chokeberries have better fruits, better fall color, better flowers. I mean, everything is subject to opinions, and chokeberries is one of my handful of favorite plants, and so consequently, I'm going to give you the advice to cut out the honeysuckle. So yeah, I would cut it out completely because it'll actually force out the chokeberry because it's more dominant.
I thought that was the answer, but right now it's pretty with the contrast with the blossoms.
Well, you'll get more honeysuckle, believe me.
Yeah.
But yeah,
okay, great. I appreciate your advice.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for the call.
Sure.
Yeah, and they look best if they're in groups or plantings, not all mixed they can be. You can have groups side by side, but not intertwined. Usually doesn't look quite as well.
Tell you what, we'll stick with the phone lines as the phone lines are lining up right now. Go ahead. You're on Landscape Smart. What's your name and question?
Karen, and question. What do you do about anthills? Have several.
Ooh, that's a new one. Anthills.
Well, there are insecticides that are just specifically for ants, or you could just and it's not always as simple as spraying it, but the best ones are typically granulars that you would shake on it, and you might have to put a second application down or maybe even a third because sometimes those anthills, and a lot of times they just move around too. Yeah. So you put a granular in one spot, and pretty soon it's popping up, 3 or 5 or 6 feet away. So it's typically it's a little more to it than that. But yeah, just the granulars typically work the best, and it'll say right on the product. We don't have really anything like that out at Rademann's, not specifically for
ants.
For ants, yeah. I don't know that any of ours. I mean, they could work. I just couldn't say for sure.
You cannot guarantee.
Right. Yeah.
It's usually a white powder, so you can see where you left it. Is it a good idea or a bad idea if they've got a hill that's like almost all dirt and there's not, usually it's just a clump in your grass, to just take that dirt away from them and put it somewhere else, further away?
Well, it's a little bit, when you see an anthill, it's more like an iceberg, because what you're seeing is just the little bit on top, and that's usually only
there's a whole structure down below.
Yeah, that's about 1/10 of what's really going on there. So that's why you sprinkle a little bit on top, and typically that slows things down a little bit. But you got to get that, the queen ant out of there to really solve the whole problem, because otherwise they just keep coming back and forth. And sometimes you have to just bring in professionals, quite frankly.
Yeah, if you got enough.
Mm-hmm. So.
Well, old house, old dirt, and I'm old, so now we'll see who can eliminate what.
Well, it's good to hear from you again, Karen. And we're glad to know you're back on your feet again. So thanks for calling in.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure being back, listening.
Excellent.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Bye.
Bye.
All right, we're going to continue the phone lines. You're on Landscape Smart. You have a question? Go ahead.
Yes, good morning. I was wanting to know if you have a plant sale this weekend.
No. Are you talking about the Master Gardeners?
Yes.
It was last week. No, it's 2 weeks
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago already.
Okay.
Sorry.
Did they have any geraniums?
I think they had quite a few geraniums, yes. But I don't
Okay.
know where they're gone. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you kindly.
Sure.
Oh, thank you for the call.
Yep. She missed the boat on
Yep.
that
Yeah.
one.
That's unfortunate.
But I'm sure you can still find geraniums
I'm
around
sure she
town.
can,
It's
yes.
Yeah, that's probably not a real difficult one to find.
I wouldn't think so.
It's nice we have lots of calls.
Yeah,
You can
actually,
back them up, obviously.
I know, yeah. and
That's wonderful.
Good thing you said something, because we actually have another caller here on. You're on Landscape Smart. Go ahead with your name and question.
I seem to have more rabbits this year than other years. And they're eating my hostas. You were saying that you can't kill a hosta. Well, they're trying.
There's the one way to kill them.
Yeah. And I bought some of this stuff called plant skid. And I'm wondering, do I just put that on the border of the flower bed, or do I have to sprinkle that throughout the flower bed?
Can you say that name again? Is it SKID, skid?
Yes, it's plants and then KYDD.
Plant skid. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a product I'm not familiar
I
with.
am not either.
I bought it at our local flower shop.
Is it made specifically to keep rabbits from liking your plants?
It's actually for rabbits and deer and wolves.
And wolves.
Oh,
That's
It's 100% natural, it says, and it's chosen by professional growers and landscapers.
Mm-hmm.
It's safe for people, pets, plants, and pollinators.
Do you have, is it a liquid?
You can get it in liquid or granular, but we bought the granular.
Okay.
I would think you'd have to sprinkle it on the plant. Most of those products that are deterrent to, deer, rabbits, things like that, I'm going to tell you, they don't really ever work very well.
I was just
No,
gonna say.
I can tell you that too.
You have to just be really diligent about it, because it rains and it washes it off, and then you go back and you start over again. And of course, at this time of year, this is a rainy. We're definitely in a rainy period here right now, and even if it's not, they only last for, it seems like 3-4 days. There's new growth coming on, and of course that doesn't have the chemical on it, because it's growing with you spray it on the leaves, then more new leaves grow
That don't have it, yeah.
don't have it on. So it's pretty hard to stay ahead of them. So I guess keep trying it and
Maybe report back to us, yeah. Otherwise, my recommendation is just get a blue healer. Mine definitely. She liked to kill rabbits. So.
But I think you're going to
Can I
have to.
borrow her?
Unfortunately, she crossed the Rainbow Bridge last year. Otherwise, I would have happily donated. Brought her out to the farm.
The deer are especially hard to deal with. And I remember an agent on the radio once from I'm trying to think of what you call the group, the rangers. That
The
take
DNR?
The DNR, that's it. He said that if you want to keep deer out of your garden, you have to start like real early and then spray the stuff around it that has a smell they don't like. It's urine from some wild animals.
Probably a
And
coyote.
you spread that
coyote
around
urine.
and you do it once a week, and then deer are habitual, and so they won't like that, and then they won't come back all summer.
Find a new spot.
Not so much. I've done it a couple of years. I've had a little bit of luck. I mean, sometimes there aren't as many deer around, but it's difficult no matter what. I do go out there and try to spray the perimeter every once in a while, but if it rains, then you're shot again, and you do it again, and so
you know what I would
tough.
if there's anybody that's listening that has a product that works,
yes,
let us know.
Call in and let us know, because if it's working, that's what we want to know, because like I said, I haven't found anything yet.
Right.
I've been trying for years.
Animals are tough to keep out.
Mm-hmm. So
Okay, I enjoy your show very much. Thank you for your advice.
Yes, thank you for the call.
Bye.
Maybe somebody will call and tell us.
Yeah, that'd be ideal. I tell you what, we'll take another break right now. So hopefully maybe someone will call in and let us know. But don't go anywhere. You're listening to Landscape Smart, presented by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company.
So yeah, you can still get a delivery from Rademann's yet today. 920-922-7612, or stop on out just 3 miles south of Fond du Lac, east on Highway 41 by a quarter mile, before noon today.
Welcome back to Landscape Smart, presented by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company. I'm Matt Hinker, and joining me today is Ron Rademann and Master Gardener Carol. Phone lines are open for any and all of your landscaping and gardening questions. So give us a call at 923-1450 or 1-888-900-1450. Can't give us a call? Shoot us an email at kfizstudio@gmail.com. But right now, we're going to turn right to the phone lines because we have a caller. You're on Landscape Smart. Go ahead with your question and your name.
Sure. Hi, my name's Deb. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. What's your question?
Yes, I was wondering what would be the best trees to plant around a deck that would offer the best privacy?
Well, backyard trees are always fun to work with, and there's a couple of different. I like to plant backyard trees more along the perimeter of your yard, actually, rather than like right up tight to your deck. If you're on your deck, you want to enjoy and see out into your yard rather than looking directly. I mean, put lower plants around your deck, and then put higher screening plants more in strategic areas between, like, your deck and your neighbor's deck, or your deck and your neighbor's patio, things like that. Now, is your yard, is it a brand new subdivision or older subdivision?
No, it's an older subdivision. So in the far back in my yard, I have a berm, so I have giant evergreen trees planted back there.
Perfect.
I have lots of privacy with the neighbors, like way out behind me, but it's on the sides of my yard. My deck's really, really wide open because I had to have older trees cut down, just because of their age. So I've lost a lot of privacy there. So,
well, one of my favorites for backyard screening like that is like Japanese tree lilac or ivory silk tree lilacs. They grow fast. They're full, dense trees. One of the nicest things too is they flower. Unlike other lilacs that are kind of flowering now or finishing up flowering right now, the Japanese tree lilac, they don't flower till the end of June. So you're flowering more end of June and into July, which is when you spend more time on your deck, on your patios. So you get the enjoyment of the fragrant lilacs at a time when you're outside and enjoying them. If you're planting lilac shrubs, the French hybrids and things like that, they've got, it's great, except sometimes they're flowering on the coldest weekends of the year, and you're not even outside to enjoy them.
Right.
Mine's flowering now. Yeah.
So this year we had beautiful weather. You got to enjoy your lilacs, but some years you don't. So, that would be one option. And some of the other ones that have nice summer color, another one is like royal purple smoke bush. Those will get 8-10 feet tall, purple leaves, the smoky flowers, kind of an iridescent leaf, so you get some color. Not really more of a that's not a tree. That's going to be more of a shrub, but it's at 6, 8, 10 feet tall. You get good side yard screening. You know, unless your deck is raised up real high.
No, it's not. No, it's just one step up.
Oh, yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, so that's.
Does it matter too? Because my deck faces south, so any trees that I need to avoid because it's in full sun.
Well, these, you know, I was kind of positioning these now out in the side yard, and you know that brings up a second question, really, because if you had trees there and you lost them, you know, and a lot of people did, I can't, you know, it seems like about 9 out of 10 people I talked to had an ash tree planted around their deck, and of course
that was one of them.
Sure enough.
That was one of them.
So you know, so that's another good one there too. If you need shade, and
yeah, it was a beautiful.
You know, and sometimes you don't want shade on your whole deck, just part shade. You know, it's kind of the best.
I believe it was a plum tree. It got the black the fungus.
Oh, black knot fungus.
Yeah, black knot fungus. It had that disease, so that one had to come down. But that was great because it was nice and wide, not very tall, but nice and wide, and it gave a lot of shade to, you know, a good part of the deck. So, okay.
Yeah, you went 0 for 2 if you planted an ash tree and a plum that you lose to black knot fungus. So,
I know.
You could even some of these lilacs, and another fun tree in the lilac family. There's one called China Snow, and that's a tree lilac, and it's a true tree. It gets about 20 feet tall, 20 feet wide, kind of an interesting bark. Comes out of the Chicago Botanical Garden. It's a zone 3 tree, interesting bark, and again, it's got the flowers. It doesn't make as good of a screening tree as what the Japanese tree lilac does, because it's a little more open, a little more airy, but it would give you, and it's wider and more of a rounded shape, umbrella shape, so you get better shade out of it.
Sure.
So if you're planting one for shade, I would use the China Snow or the Chinese tree lilac varieties, and if you're planting more for screening, then stick with the ivory silk or the Japanese tree lilacs. So.
Well, that sounds great. Well, I wrote a bunch down, so thank you very much for all your information.
Excellent. Right. Thank you for the call.
You're welcome. Have a great day, guys.
You too. Bye.
Thank you. Yeah, bye-bye.
Perfect timing. Look at that.
We're at the end?
This is the end.
Oh, my.
Yeah, I know. Time flies when you're having fun, Carol.
Well, when you get all calls back to back.
I was going to say, when the phone lines light up like that definitely makes the time go by.
And I'm sure there was a few people that couldn't get through.
Yeah, I know there for a fact there's a few I couldn't get on because of it. Yep.
Well, anyway, you know, happy Memorial Day weekend. I guess
absolutely.
You know, keep in mind, you know, the reason we have Memorial Day, and you know, it's the armed forces, it's the military, it's all the people that save and protect us, and of course, you know, our past fallen fathers, grandfathers.
Yep.
So
all for them.
Yep, all for them. That's what this weekend is really all about.
Amen.
All right. Thank you, Ron, Carol, so much. Always great to see you guys. Do not go anywhere.